Hoppers! This 2026 animated adventure is a very solid Pixar original, but it's otherwise just another Pixar original. Suits the audience, I guess. Unlike many other recent original animated movies, Hoppers is actually quite a force to be reckoned with by many critics and audiences, with most considering it a return to form for the company with its originality and wit. But I have my fair share of arguments here. It's still a solid movie that is easily better than some of their recent movies. However, it's nowhere near as entertaining as other classic originals such as Up or Coco. Your brain will pretty much determine if this is the right choice for you, but it may turn you off once in a while from one small act to another, and probably then you'll get to study what truly makes a Pixar original. Even still, this is definitely a much needed breather after constantly watching big IP franchises that don't feel as entertaining as they used to. So, how did this Pixar original become a surprise hit for many? What makes it a step in the right direction for the anime company? And why is it more than just a classic one for all ages? In today's movie review, I'll be talking about the environmental animated adventure, Hoppers. Be sure to not take all this into consideration before going into this one. First off, I may sound like a broken record for many of these types of movies, but the animation is absolutely great as seen from Pixar movies in the past and present. It blends those visual splendor contrasts and wacky moments that make it look like the animators are actually having fun animating the movie. It has high-tech robots and the lush, natural beauty of the glade, showing its place of human versus nature in all of its beauty. Actually being a realistic and truest statement for our environment, nature, the more you think about it. The character's animation is also absolutely clean, all looking extremely well detailed in expressions, movements, and also the animals feel very grounded with their wonderful colours and how the entire film portrays them with a life of their own, as Mabel swaps mind with a beaver, really allowing viewers to see their own POV that you'd normally see in talking animal movies. As expected, the animation still sparkles in the year 2026. Something that this movie actually managed to achieve over classic Pixar movies is the humour. Everything about the film's humour is actually flawless to the point where you'll be left laughing for quite some time. It's smart, witty, and very top-notch for an original Pixar movie, being very reminiscent from their original past original experiences. It experiences gallows humour and sci-fi horror tropes, especially the uncanny feel of the animatronics that you see in the film, which I'm pretty sure you've seen being utilized in past horror movies in your lifetime, which is still playing the layers safe for a kids movie, but also having enough to make it stand out for parents as well, thanks to its bizarre visual gags that come off nicely and its swift pacing, unlike movies from Illumination. It's definitely darker and more disturbing for Pixar standards though, but don't worry, it's not trying too hard on those strings. It takes its time to cool off before it gets back into action with the multiple genres it blends into its original story. For once, the storytelling in this movie feels very original and even very complete for Pixar. The premise is absolutely great. Pixar originals have been struggling to find some footing due to the company relying on big IPs for the story, but this one is actually quite creative. It blends sci-fi and nature to create a very realistic portrayal of humans and animals. There are plenty of modern blockbusters today that feel very incomplete, but this one does. It's very satisfying, building on the premise of a nature-heavy girl swapping minds with a beaver and getting to see the real POV of animals as well as their behaviour and characteristics. It doesn't have that feeling of franchise territory. The developers ensured to take plenty of time to make this movie feel as done as possible, or else we all would have been questioning the same thing. The more I think about it, the better I think this movie had a modest performance at the box office. Otherwise, people would have been milking for a sequel that otherwise would have taken everything away that made this movie original and creative. It reminds you very much of other classic tales. All of the characters and animals in the movie are really enjoyable and have plenty of heart, making them pretty memorable. The voice talents, as usual, are also very good and add very well to the amount of charm and character that's well suited for them, especially Jon Hamm, who at first we think his character is villainous, but then we learn that his works and actions are doing something for the greater good, rather than damaging the environment harder. It does teach kids and parents a message. Never ever try to damage the environment, even if you're trying to make it more better for humans and animals. Always protect everything about the animals as well, because they need all the help that they can get. The main protagonist, Mabel, is also a joy here, with the endless amount of charisma that is all about Earth's landscape. King George the Beaver has a very grounded story to the point where you'll get plenty of kick from him. And the lizard is an instant shout out. It will overall make the story more memorable if at first you're having some problems with its somewhat cliched moments. Lastly, the pacing that adds to the final touches of this movie is quick and breezy for kids and adults. Since the story is very modest in its scale and also an unloaded one that almost feels like a no-nonsense plot that allows you to turn off your own brain off, it runs at a very balanced runtime, being just an hour and 40 minutes in length. There are tons of stories to pick out here, whether it be for the side of the humans or animals. There's so much to offer that it'll make you want to continue watching it for how interesting it can be many times. It's an absolute welcome one that works as well as its premise, and because of how it overall functions, the pacing does not come off as slow or fast. It balances itself with an endless amount of charisma, laughs, and even action to say the least. It'll be over before you just started watching it, and you'll never forget how the environmental issues mean to the world. Despite how great this movie is, there's something about it that holds it back from being like a true Pixar original. The main issue is that the emotional depth is completely missed here. Sometimes it focuses on being more of an action spectacle rather than having a smart sense of emotion, unlike other past Pixar movies we've seen in the past. It attempts to echo in similar qualities in the past and therefore does not utilize the whole concept of human-animal connections that we've seen before, such as WALL-E. It just doesn't hit that same mark. Even if it is emotionally touching in a few instances, it's probably pushed a bit too hard with the tears, and especially with its forced script, making the emotion feel forced instead of touching. Rather than being smart, it's trying to be recycled with its breezy pacing, making the entire emotional experience completely miss the plot. It's mildly frustrating for someone like me who's been watching these Pixar movies for years. Hoppers is definitely a decent movie, yet I've still seen way better. Its premise is great, it has top tier gorgeous animation that still feels very modern, there's plenty of hilarious moments that are smart and witty, the story has loads of layers that makes it entertaining and keeps you guessing, it has a talented cast of characters that are immediately likable with memorable moments, quick and breezy pacing, a climatic scale of action, naturalistic themes, and it avoids typical cliches. But it has very weak emotional depth and the storytelling can get a bit clunky. Still, it's an original Pixar movie, and a solid one at that. It's not just some dumb animal movie with animals that talk, it instead focuses on a human transferring her mind onto an animal to help save their environment. It manages to do so, while still being fun for all ages and not coming off as a typical crash grab. I'd say that it's slightly overrated due to people matching it against some of the greatness of Pixar, when in reality, it's just another original movie that's solid for the whole family. Nonetheless, it's very original for an animated movie should you need a palate cleanser from big IP franchises. There are some big pop culture references and also many sequels and reboots coming in this year, so this was definitely a much needed palate cleanser until all hell breaks loose. Hoppers is definitely a decent Pixar original, that is definitely a step in the right direction if you're into something like that, just like me. Hoppers nibbles plenty of colourful all ages fun with its funny, breezy, naturalistic storytelling that is a welcome return to form for Pixar, despite its underwhelming emotional footprints. My final score for this Pixar original is a 9 out of 10 and a grade A. Still the exact Pixar original that feels fresh, full and finished, with its awards for all ages in the spectrum. I always question the environment that surrounds us overall, as well as the animals that fear for their lives. In fact, it makes me feel even more sympathetic with all of the action that we are causing to the current state of the nature. This movie reminded me of such those terrible things, and I will forever remember the important moral that this movie taught us from start to finish. But with that being said, leave a like on this video if you guys did enjoy my review on Hoppers, and also remember to subscribe if you are new, and hit that bell icon to see more content on my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all later. Take care of yourselves.